My dear friends, today's subject is distinction between the tort and crime, the tort and contract. My name is K. Umesh Rao. We are discussing the difference between tort and crime and breach of contract. All wrongs are not torts. Tort is a civil wrong. However, every civil wrong is not a tort. There is a lot of differences between tort and crime. There is a lot of difference between tort and breach of contract. Now we will see what is torts and what is crime first. Tort means breach of some duty. Tort is independent of contract. Tort is a civil wrong. It gives rise to civil proceedings. What is the meaning of breach of duty? Law fixes certain rights and duties on every person. These duties and rights are in rem, it is against the whole world. For example, I walk on the road. It is my right to use the public road. What is the duty in this case? Duty is fixed on the public not to cause any accident or harm to me. If someone hits his vehicle, he shall be held responsible. He is liable to pay the compensation. Compensation is unliquidated damages. What is unliquidated means? It is not fixed at the time of tortious liability arises. Compensation is not fixed before the accident occurs. In a tort, first there should be a wrongful act. Wrongful act means breach of duty. Second, there should be a legal injury. Third remedy is legal injury attracts compensation. Further, tort is a violation of private rights of an individual. Wrongdoer is liable to pay the compensation to the injured party. Why compensation is granted? Purpose of granting the compensation is to the injured party is to make good the loss suffered by him. Who has to show the burden of proof in this tort? Burden of proof lies on the injured party or the person who is making the complaint. Mens rea, guilty intention, ill intention is not a factor in torts. In torts, punishment means awarding damages. Natural principle of justice like good conscience, equality are followed in fixing the wrongdoer's liability. Law of torts is judgment law. It is not codified. Now we will discuss about law of crimes. Crime. All the crimes are done by criminals. Criminals are liable for punishment. In crime, victim is an individual, but a victim is not going to proceed against the criminal. Criminal proceedings against the wrongdoer is instituted by the state or government. Crime is a breach of public rights. It is a breach of public duties. Crime affect the whole community, whole society. In criminal activity, wrongdoer is punished by the state. Punishment may be fine or imprisonment. Why punishment is given? Purpose of criminal law is to protect the society by preventing crime. Purpose of punishment is to deter the offender from committing further crimes. Punishment may be heavy or serious. In crime, ill intention plays important role determining the criminal liability. In crime, burden of proof lies on the state. Injured party becomes only witness. Strict rules, procedures, principles followed. It is called criminal procedures. All the crimes are defined, codified. Criminal law is the oldest law. Breach of contract. The law of contract, it is a separate department. In the case of breach of contract, the injured party has a right only for liquidated damages because damages Liquidated damages means actual damages of breach of contract by the right available only against some specified persons. In breach of contract, the motive is not an essential factor. Law of contract has been codified. Exemplary damages are not awarded in the breach of contract. In breach of contract, no compensation payable in the case of fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake, coercion, or undue influence. Now we will see what is the difference between tort and crime. Tort is a civil wrong, but crimes which result in the punishment of the criminal. In tort, plaintiff is the injured party. In crime, victim is individual. In spite of that, criminal proceedings are instituted by the state against the wrongdoer. In tort, violation of the private right is an individual. In crime, it is the breach of public rights and duties which affect the whole community. In tort, wrongdoer is liable to pay compensation to the injured party. In wrongdoer is generally punished in the crimes. Sometimes fine is imposed. Fine is sometimes imprisonment is also allowed. The purpose of awarding compensation is to injured party is to make good the loss suffered by him. But the purpose of criminal law is to protect the society by preventing and deterring the offender from committing further offenses. The nature of punishment is lighter. By awarding damages, our matter is finished. But the nature of punishment is heavy and serious. It may go into imprisonment also. In tort, intention is not at all important factor. But in crime, mens rea, ill intention plays an important factor. Mens rea has no place in tort. Burden of proof lies on the complainant or injured in the case of torts. In the case of crime, burden of proof lies on the state. Natural principles of justice, good conscience, equality are followed in fixing the wrongdoer's liability. In the case of crime, strict rules of criminal procedures are followed. Most of the law of torts is judge-made law and it is not codified. All the crimes are defined and codified in the criminal law. Tort is the latest subject. It is a developing stage. In criminal law, it is the oldest law. Now, what is the difference between the breach of contract and torts? Breach of contract, it results from the breach of duty undertaken by the parties themselves. In case of breach of contract, injured party has right only for liquidated damages. That means it is pre-settled or actual damages is entitled. In the case of tort, damages are always unliquidated, unascertained, and invariably they are not, in fact, could be actual. In the case of breach of contract, it is an infringement of right in personam. That means right available only against some specified persons or body in which the community at large has no concern. It is between the two individuals, two persons. But tort violation is a right in rem. It is a right vested in public at large, either personally or as a member of community, available against the whole world. Because I am walking on the road, the whole world has got the duty not to cause harm to me. Breach of contract, duty violated in the case of breach of contract is specific duty. It is owed by either party or the other alone. It doesn't owe the community at large. In tort, duty imposed by the law is owed to community at large. In breach of contract, the motive is not an essential factor. But in the tort, motive is an essential factor to determine the liability in the case of malicious prosecutions. In the case of breach of contract, law relating to contract has been codified, but law relating to court has not been codified. In the case of breach of contract, the party is entitled only actual damages. In the case of tort, person injured may be entitled for the damages he has not actually suffered. Exemplary or vindicative damages are not awarded in the case of breach of contract. Exemplary or vindicative damages are awarded in the case of torts. In the case of breach of contract, no compensation is paid in case of contract induced by fraud, misrepresentation, mistake, coercion, or undue influence. These factors don't affect in the action of a tort. Thank you.